What's the big picture? Keep zooming out, keep zooming out. Like, what's your big
Mhm.
picture? What's the long game here? And what's worth it and what's not?
Welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast, a free resource for women who work in the sports and entertainment industry. Each week, we get real and talk about the things that hold us back and how we can overcome them and keep climbing to the top. And the top is however you define it. We talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Consider this podcast your secret weapon. You will learn from the best in the business and be able to take immediate action with all of the advice that you hear. I'm your host, Jahaan Blake, a leadership development coach and consultant. I've worked in sports for 20 years. 15 of those years were spent working for the Red Sox, Dodgers, and the Cubs. After 15 years of working in the front office, I took a leap of faith and I started my own business. Friends, as a Black woman in sports, I know that the industry can take a toll on your confidence and sometimes leave you feeling defeated. Join me each week so I can support you on your journey. I promise you, each week you will feel stronger and more confident than the week before. So let's get started with this week's episode. Do you ever wonder what it would take for you to make the jump to being an executive? Do you question even if you have what it takes? In this episode, Sumathi Thiyagarajan, Vice President of Business Strategy and Analytics, shares how she knew she was ready for the Vice President level. We also dive into topics that you are 100% going to want to hear the answer to. She talks about whether or not you should get an MBA to be an executive, how she focuses on not taking things personally, what she talks about weekly with her boss. And the list goes on. Y'all are going to love my conversation with Sumathi. All right, Game of Her Own listeners, let's do this. Sumathi, welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Jahaan.
Before we get started, and I'm really interested in your response to this because your background is not necessarily or isn't in sports, but when did you first fall in love with sports?
Oh, that's a good question. I have kind of two key memories of falling in love with sports. One is, born in India, I came here when I was a year and a half, and I just have these vivid memories of my dad and a bunch of other uncles that all came to this country at the same time, like cheering loudly in front of the television for the 1985 Chicago Bears Super Bowl run. And I remember just as a child being like, oh, what is this thing that gets everybody all riled up and like excited? And so I remember after that, like really kind of coming to my dad and being like, can you teach me what this thing is? And just really kind of falling in love with watching sports with my dad. And then, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago during the Michael Jordan era, right? Repeat. And I just remember that as being such a big part of my childhood of enjoying watching basketball and it being such a staple of my evenings and my weekends. And just so really fell in love with sports, just seeing how it impacted my parents, but then just also seeing how it was like such a great way to, just to get energy and riled up and have excitement. Watch someone perform at like such an amazing level.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well said. And a lot of people have this same sort of reaction or response is a better word, where it's generational. Like it connects families and it's beyond sport. It's beyond that person who's on the court, although you never will forget Jordan, but it's beyond the court or beyond the field, depending on what sport you're watching.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I worked in healthcare for a long time. And then when I made this jump into sports, I had a good friend tell me, I always wanted to impact change on community through healthcare. And he's like, I'm really seeing it's actually through sport. And I was like, yeah, this is the platform for how people pay attention and listen. And in a city like Milwaukee, the Bucks are the biggest brand ambassador for the city, and so if you want to impart change on Milwaukee or grow Milwaukee as a community, like you do it through sport. So it's been very exciting to be a part of the industry.
So tell everybody what you do now and who you do it for.
Yes. So I work for the Milwaukee Bucks, NBA champions, and my role here at the Bucks is an inaugural role. It did not exist prior to me starting here. It's called the Vice President of Business Strategy and Analytics. Effectively, what the Bucks decided was they really wanted to use data and analytics to help drive revenue decisions, to make the best business decisions that they could make. The team changed ownership about 7 years ago and has been in a growth phase for a very long time. Won the national championship, had great things happen. But now how do you kind of bring more structure and process and rigor to some of those business decisions instead of going by gut or feel? And that's really kind of where the impetus for my role started. And overarchingly, I see all analytics around ticketing. So, what are prices? What should our dynamic pricing be? How should we go out with renewals or any number of season ticket holder product? And then we also oversee all the market research. So we send out surveys to our fans to really understand how they're experiencing the game. And then we have a lot of executive reporting. So really helping our executives understand the health of the business and make the best decisions. So getting the right information in front of the right people at the right time. So that's kind of the overarching team I lead of 7 people. And it's been really fun because I think the Bucks was not lip service when they interviewed me and hired me. They were truly dedicated to bringing data as a connective piece of the business.
Moving from gut to data-driven decisions
Yeah.
can be a difficult mind shift for everybody in an organization. Or I should say for most, especially what we find in sports. And people are lifers in some of these, either the position, like the team they work for, or just in sports in the industry in general. And a lot of times we've always done it this way.
Yeah. Yep.
Why do we need to fix it? So I guess my question for you is, have you come up against that and how do you handle it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I might be a little different than other data folks. Like I have great respect for the person who's been doing this for 20 years and like has a gut feeling, right? Like at the end of the day, like I have great respect for those folks because they probably do know something that we're not able to find in some random Excel workbook somewhere that says, hey, look at this, you were right or you were wrong, right? So I take the approach of like, look, we can use data to validate things that you think are true, but I can now arm you with information instead of you just being like, well, my gut says this. Well, your gut's right. Like, here's what it looks like. Here's the actual numbers behind it. So I think just as important as like refuting or trying to change, it's to help validate the things that we're already doing well. Second, when I get to a place of like people being like, well, we've always done it this way, this is how it's always worked, I tend to kind of actually bring the fact that I've worked in a couple of different industries and I've seen it done differently. So might we be interested in trying? And the other approach I take is like, let's just pilot it. You don't have to change it all. Can we just change this little piece of it and see how it goes? And then if you hate it, let's just go back. But if you like it, maybe we keep trying, right? So it's some of those things where I'm not saying the data is right 100% of the time because it's not. It's such a snapshot. Like we had all this data and then COVID hit. How? Like just how are we supposed to figure out, like, tell me what the Bucks ticket price is supposed to be post-COVID, post-World Championship. I don't know. I've had maybe 3 to 4 years of data. There's a whole year of a gap, a year and a half of gap in that because people weren't allowed into the stadium. People were willing to either pay nothing or everything to come see a game. And then the Bucks won a World Championship after 50 years. Like I can only tell you what some numbers say, but if we can marry it with what you believe and know and think about boots on the ground at the Salesforce level, like we're going to be great. So I take it very much from the perspective of like, there's a lot of value in having been a lifer or having been an expert. How can I just be additive versus contrary?
I love that. I love that approach. Now, I think if, whoever's listening can walk away, okay, I understand, like marry the two. I don't need to alienate anybody to make change, right? I can support them by, giving their gut some data and bringing their gut feeling to life through data. But there's some people who may not always agree or might take a little bit to get on board. And I think this is when it comes to like, this is when things get real is how do you deal with, or I'm making an assumption here, but sometimes that stuff gets under your skin when somebody just won't get on board. And, we take things personally. I know I'm a very emotional person. A lot of my clients are very emotional. And how do you keep it separate? How do you take the emotion out of that?
Oh, yeah. You'll have to tell me when you figure it out and then I can try to figure it out. No, so I think a few things, like I think having had the chance to kind of work in a lot of different industries, in a lot of different companies, I keep reminding myself, none of it's ever personal. It's all what people are dealing with on any given day at any given time. Being a person of color and female in an industry that is not necessarily that looks like that. Like I think maybe it's just been a learned ability to be like, let's zoom out a little here and let's take it from a vantage point of how do I navigate versus how do I endure? But I think the thing is like, it's like taking the horse to the water or whatever that thing is, right? You can't make the horse actually drink the water. I'm happy to share with you what I have in an open and honest way. It's up to you. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. But let's all just say that like, let's all agree that we had all the information. We still chose to go a different direction, and that's fine. Like, but then you own that decision. I did not help you. I did not support you. I did nothing, right? I was just here as an additive resource, but I don't own the outcomes from the decision you made to ignore the data, is kind of how I approach people in that realm. Like, but no, I mean, I'm incredibly ambitious. Like, I want to do well in every role I'm in. Like, I have like, I'm constantly looking for like, how do I grow? How do I learn? How do I move on from like kind of the next level? And so it's very hard to kind of unmarry yourself from some of the feedback and comments, and maybe the value of what you think you're bringing versus what the value of what people think you're bringing. But I've just tried really hard with growth, with career coaching myself. Like, I've just recognized the value of someone else being able to reflect back to you, like, what's the big picture? Keep zooming out. Like, what's your big picture? What's the long game here? And what's worth it and what's not? So it's been a personal journey. And I'm also a mom. I got 2 kids, so they keep it real all the time. And so it's, like, if I'm taking anything personally, I'm trying really hard not to take 2 8-year-olds personally. So I think it's helped in the work front too.
Oh wait, do you have twins?
I do. I have twin 8-year-old girls. They're the best. They're the best.
Woo! Yes, they are the best. But I just think back to how I was as a young girl, and I listen to my friends. I don't have children, but I listen to my friends, and they're the girls have the greatest stories.
Yes.
They really challenge you on a different level that makes work and dealing with egos, or whatever job you're in, it just makes it like no big deal. I have an 8-year-old. I have 2 8-year-olds at home.
Yep. It's 2 8-year-olds who are giving me the real every single day, every single moment, like I love sleeping in. And I think every morning when I'm dropping them off, they're like, good luck, mommy. Like, good luck getting up on time. Like, good luck getting us to school on time. So yes, like, I get called out constantly, so I don't need to. I'm good at work. I'm like, you're easy. You're nice by comparison.
Yes. Girl moms, girl dads, like, you have a different experience in life than everybody else. That's hysterical. I mean, you've been working for a very long time, and I was looking at all your experience on LinkedIn, and how did you know you were ready to make that move into a vice president role for the first time?
I had a former mentor tell me that sometimes I feel like you seem caged because you always are saying yes to any opportunity that's given to you, because it feels like you always want to do more. And it was like such an enlightening topic for me, because I was like, oh, I guess I am always like, yep, I'll do that. Yep, I'll try this. I think I knew I was ready for the next level, per se, when I had a much better understanding of who I was as a person, and who I was like, okay, I think I could lead young people or people who are more junior than me to a level of success. Like, I felt like I could listen to them. I felt like I could understand where they were trying to go. And I felt I had enough life experience to kind of guide a team. So that was like kind of the first piece. And that came together, honestly, Jahaan, just through practice and like exposure. You don't get those until somebody gives you the opportunity to lead people. Like, you just kind of have to wait and see and work hard, and somebody will hopefully see that you have the capacity and give you the opportunity. And then you're able to prove to yourself and to others that you can do that. And then I think the next part was like, honestly, the role at the Bucks was exciting for the leadership title, but it was more exciting for kind of the job itself. I really evaluated it from the perspective of like, what is this going to allow me to do that I've not been able to do in my career so far? And it was the idea of like standing up something brand new, building a whole new culture, and really leading like a business transformation. And I came into this role like very much being like, okay, when I started, they were like, you're the vice president. There are lots of other vice presidents within the organization, and you're going to be a part of this kind of management team, which are a management committee, which is a larger group of about 30 to 40 people. And I was like, that is great. And then 4 months in, they were like, you know what? You should be at the executive team. And I was like, what? Come again? And they were like, well, we can't really say we care about data if you're not having a seat at the table. So first and foremost, like, props to the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, they did not lie on their interview journey. They were like, yeah, it makes more sense for you to be here at this executive committee versus the bigger, broader team. Like, you're still part of the bigger, broader team, but we want you at the table every week. And so you can imagine, like, I went from brand new job, brand new company, brand new industry, brand new job, to now like literally kind of and I don't say it in an arrogant way, but like leapfrogging into this executive team and now sitting amongst the same peer set that has 20 years of sports industry experience, and that was, I think, the most difficult part for me to kind of be like, I belong here, and how do I manage this and how do I navigate this? I think in my brain, I had said, I'm ready for the next step. In my brain, I had not said like, I'm ready for this, like the next step. So I'm still figuring it out. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, I think my president has looked directly at me and goes, you need puff. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I'm still figuring that out. I don't know what puff means, but I'll get there.
I love that. You need puff. I
puff.
love the honesty.
Yes.
I love the honesty.
Yes.
I mean, so you have this like seat at the executive table. Data is your sort of, is your world, not sort of, it's your world. So how do you sit at that table for the first time and be like, oh, you want me to sit here? Okay, great. And like, how do you continue to make sure you use your voice, whether it's puff or not? Like, how do you make sure you are not losing your voice and I'm making some assumptions here and this might not be you. How do you make sure you don't lose your voice when you're somewhere new where it could be a little bit intimidating, or it can be like, you just want to make sure you get it right. Cause like you said, you're very ambitious. And so with that comes okay, I got to get this right. I got to nail this.
I had been in a mindset of like, how do I continue to keep proving myself every single time I sit at that table, to my detriment, I would say in some ways, my mental detriment, where I was like, right. Like, I think I always go back, and my husband was like, you're not that great of an actress. Like, you think that you've just like fooled everybody and showed up at the table. He's like, you're not that good of an actress. Just calm down. Right. So it's a kind of this constant reminder of like, either I can say I've been invited to this table and now I need to prove myself, or I was invited to the table because I've already proved myself. Right?
Wow, I love that.
But how do I hold on to that confidence? Right. And so what I do is I'm highly an observer for some time. I just wanted to, understand like the lay of the land and the landscape. But I also had a lot of great conversations with my boss and with our president being like, what are the expectations of me? Because you've now invited me to this table. I have a team that I need to build from scratch. So I'm not really adding any direct value right away, but I am very clear on what the road looks like or where I need to get to. What do you want me to do? And I think it's been a very supportive environment where both my boss and the president were like, look, we know, like, you're still getting up to speed. Like, we're still trying to establish your role. Like, just come and learn and understand, and then keep figuring out ways to get those quick wins. And so that's kind of what I did. Every week I had a quick win on my one-on-one agenda with my boss. I was like, this is what I did this week. This is a win because, and I could say why it was a win, what was the win about, who was I helping? And like, I really see my role as a service role to the rest of the organization. So here's who I helped. Here's who I talked to. Here's how I helped move this one little piece forward. Here's the one little incremental thing that we changed to help. I tell my team all the time, you don't have to fix everything. Just be a little bit better the next time. Just what's the little bit better that we can change, right? And so that was kind of how I started building some momentum to be able to come to those tables and be like, I have something to offer. It's not world changing, but it's going to help us move in the right direction and kind of keep being able to share what that vision was so that everybody could buy into it. And that was really how I saw that seat at the table. Is like, this is my opportunity to get people to buy into this vision versus just me and like just hope that the vision helps carry over into me. And I had to really like kind of reaffirm to myself, like, I'm a smart person. I'm going to be okay. Like, I just need to breathe and be and understand that I deserve to be here. I'm still working on it though. Every time I still feel like sometimes I'm just like so earnest. I'm like, I want to learn that. And I'm like, nobody wants to sit next to an executive who looks like a 12-year-old girl who's like ready to start the cheerleading squad, Yeah.
But it helps, right? And it makes it disarming because sometimes in junior level or middle management, like they're like, oh, I have to sit with an executive. Like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I have to be perfect. I'm like, wait, she's learning too. And she's so honest about it. And she's figuring things out as she goes along. Like, she's still learning, but she's also an executive she's also an executive. And
I think part of it is also to the landscape of like the Bucks and their commitment to DE&I and really exciting to be a different face and voice on this at the Bucks. And then got a chance to get added to our diversity leadership council in a leadership position to help kind of guide some of the education around the organization, around DE&I. And so, like the opportunities have been presented. Now it's a matter of taking them and earnestly and honestly, like trying to just do things a little better and really make it about the organization and the team versus about me personally. I'm hoping I don't know, maybe that authenticity will help people continue to be like, oh yeah, she deserves to be here.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Now give us a peek into one thing I want to hone in on is you're talking to your boss weekly.
Yeah.
And you always talk about one win that you had in your weekly meeting. Like what else do you make sure, obviously high level, but what are the things that you make sure that you hit when you have that weekly meeting?
I'll give a shout out to my boss, who is the best boss, one of the best bosses I've ever had, Raven Jemison, who's our executive vice president. I see her every week, if not once or twice a week for my check-ins. Like we established early on, I need a little more time with her because I'm like, I'm still learning. And she was like, absolutely, schedule whatever you need. So I took advantage of that. I come prepared for every meeting. I have an agenda. On that agenda, we'll have things like, what is my quick win for the week? On that agenda will be, what is my team working on and how we're doing? I will talk to her about things that I'm struggling with and just need guidance on. I will be like, hey, like I got this email, I don't know how to answer it, or I am supposed to do this thing and I don't know how to do it. Like, what do you think? I will also come to her with like, I've been here a little over a year. Like I fully admit, I'm like, it's too early for me to think about next step or professional development. And she will be like, nope, it's never too early. Go ahead and let's talk about it. So I will bring forward professional development things that I'm thinking about, ideas that I have. I'm like, this has never been done here. Can we try it? And she will either, say, that's not a great idea for right now. Like, we're not ready for that. Or she'll be like, yeah, go do it. And then that's kind of all that needs to really be said. And then I get to run with it. So I really make sure like I come as my full person. She's met my children. She's met my husband, I see her at games, like all of the above. Like, I need her to know kind of who I am. And like I said, as a mother of young children, and I have a spouse who's also employed and very busy and ambitious as well. And I was very transparent from the very beginning. I was like, I want to take on this job. I want to do a really good job at it. But like work-life balance is really important to me. Like I cannot burn out on this job at the expense of my family. And so we've always been open to having those conversations as well. So it's been a really great relationship.
So you had that conversation, the work-life balance, prior to getting hired?
Correct.
Yes. All right. I like that. Some of the toughest conversations we have are the ones that we have with ourselves. We can convince ourselves to believe stories that we don't even know are true. What's crazy is we allow that story to take a toll on our confidence. Have you been there before? I know that I have. We get in our heads. We beat ourselves up. Here's some tough love. Nobody's got time for that. We are high achieving women who have big career goals. We don't have time to get in our own way. And I am here to support you with my new one-on-one coaching program, Step Into Your Power and Own Your Career. My clients have told me that when we work together, I've helped them get out of their own way, regain their confidence, learn how to manage their emotion and mindset. They've told me that they've been able to get their voice back and use it with confidence. The most important thing, they've told me that we've identified the obstacle that was getting in their way. If you want to learn more about this program, scroll down in the show notes, click on the link that says Step Into Your Power and Own Your Career. You can set up time to chat with me and we can figure out if this is the right program for what you need. All right, let's get back to the episode. And it's interesting. A lot of women who listen will like reach out and like, okay, I want to, have a family, or someone just recently reached out. She's like, I'm pregnant and I'm really she's like trying to control all the factors when it comes to professional life and now her personal life and her growing, beautiful family. So I love that you approached it right up front in the interview process. And were you worried how it was going to be received?
100%, right? I think at the end of the day, like this could be what keeps me in, like this could be a non-issue and I continue to be in part of the process, or this could be what knocks me out, right? Like they're like, it's just a different industry. We are not 9 to 5. We are crazy busy. Like we need someone who's going to be here doing the things all the time and like married to the job. The truth is like, I would much rather be honest about it up front and then us mutually agreeing that we're not the right fit, as opposed to me saying, yes, I can do it, burning out. So much of what I've recognized, I've worked in healthcare for 12 years. I worked in higher ed for 5 years. And now this job, my kids finally think I'm cool. Like it did not happen until this job, Jahaan, where right. So like, and my husband's a physician. So they've been walking around like, oh, daddy's a doctor. And I was like, cool. But like mommy works for the Bucks. And they're like, you're right. Mommy's job is so much cooler. I did not realize how much I needed my family to have joy in my job. Like I didn't realize what a great motivator that would be. So when I take my kids to a game, when I take my family to a game and I see them light up, I'm like, I did this. Like my job did this, right? So I didn't recognize how much it would actually be bi-directionally great to be in an organization that was bringing joy to millions, that it could also be a place to bring joy to my family. And so how I approached it with the interview process, I don't say it in the first round of interviews, but when, you get invited back, you're like, okay, there's mutual interest. And, I'm just like very transparent and honest with Raven. I was like, look, like I have a young family. I have a very ambitious husband. And frankly, like when he doesn't come to work, things are very impacted. When I don't come to work, I miss a meeting. Like, let's be honest, right? And we had just come off of COVID and I just wanted to be very frank, like his schedule will trump mine at times. Like, how are we going to do this? And I said, I really want this job. I think I could add great value. I think I could be like really, really like bi-directional. This could be a great fit. My concern is I take it and I'm not able to come up to the expectations that you guys are looking for. And in the process, like I'm not able to do it fully and be here present. And so that's always been my concern. And to her credit, she was like, what does that look like? How can we She was like, you don't have to be there at games if you can't. Like your role isn't a game facing role, which is true. Like I don't have to be there on game day. A lot of the work I can do for game day, I can do on my computer outside of work. So they're like, whatever works for you, you do it. We clearly have the expectation that the work will get done, which has never been a problem for me. I'm like, yep, I will get the work done. I just can't be here all the time. I have to go pick up the kids. I have to get them ready for, dinner, whatever. And so they were like, yeah, whatever works for you. And then I think it's always been this notion of like what works best for you. At one point they were like, do you want a different type of schedule where you work from home on a weekly basis in some kind of cadence? And I was like, I just appreciated them offering. And I was like, nope, this is working great for me. They're like, great, then let's just keep doing this. But the door was open to always negotiate and navigate. And I've also taken that as like a sign of my imposter syndrome, like not being real. I'm like, they don't have to offer these things to me, like, but they're doing it because I'm adding some value that they find that they don't want to lose me to a different role or a different market. So it's been a bi-directionally very respectful, like, how can we, like, I'm here for the Bucks. Like I'm all in on the Bucks and that's clear, but I want to do it in a way that works for me long term, because if you hire me and then 2 years I'm burnt out and gone, like you're back in the same situation. So let's just not make that mistake if that's not what we're wanting to do.
Yeah.
And they actually really appreciated it. They were like, thanks for telling us. And I think it showed some level of confidence in what I could bring as well. Cause I was like, I know I could do this. It's just going to be a little different.
Yeah. Here's what I need to do this. Yeah. Yes. Now you just also got your MBA recently. Is that correct?
I am 3 classes away from my MBA.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Woo, all right. Yeah. Twin girls, 8 years old, VP, and getting your master's and 3 classes away. Wow.
I just a little ambitious. I just need to calm down a bit.
No, please do not stop. It is inspirational for all of us.
Oh, no.
Okay, so there's a lot of women that I come across who are wondering, do I need to get my MBA to become an executive in sports? Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
It's a great question. So I very much came at the MBA not because I needed it. My background was mostly technical. My first degree was in computer science. My graduate degree was more in like database management. So I had 2 very technical degrees. What I found, and I also found like having a very ethnic name, people could not see me outside of an IT type function and role. But my background is more strategy, planning, analytics, right? It's not just singularly technical. And what I thought the MBA would do for me was literally help people see me as a little broader and let it open a door for me here or there. That's really why I went for the MBA, because I just felt like if I could prove in some capacity, I'm not just somebody who's going to want to sit in a room and code because I have 2 technical degrees, and then this degree will help. I also did it very much because I was working at Marquette and I could get the degree while I was there. So I was like, oh, why not? get it, right? So I don't believe you need an MBA to be in any of these roles. Truthfully, like not everybody who's in the executive roles at our company has an MBA. A lot of them are just really good at their current job and role. I think I got it very strategically because of my background and I didn't want people to pigeonhole me. And I think the MBA is a career accelerator in some places. And again, whether you have the actual ability to manage people, to understand business, having the degree somehow seems to imply that you should or you do. I will gladly say there are lots of people with their MBA who don't have that. They just have the degree. So I think as long as you're able to prove what your value is and what you can bring with the degree or without the degree, I think the executive role isn't dependent on that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Great advice. And I feel like what the foundation for you, everything is, it's like self-awareness is like the one thing that like stands out when talking to you. Like,
that's so kind.
Yeah, it just, you are very clear on what you need and how it's going to impact you, how it's going to help you grow in your career, grow with your family. And does this work? Does it not? And then just going for it.
No, it's been a journey for sure. It's been really, I'm actually very curious as to who I actually am. That sounds weird to say, but like, it's been the truth of like, I keep reminding myself, like, I'm over 40. I'm so different now than I was like 5 years ago. Like, haven't we all changed because of COVID? Like, or anything, any number of the things that happened in the last few years. Like, if you haven't changed, like something's going on with you. So to me, it's like, if I know who I am, I will feel comfortable in the decision. And then at that point, it's be open to what happens. So I always do my due diligence. Like I'm not a risk taker. I will definitely do my research and think about it. But then once I think about it and there's that leap of faith, like then I just try really hard to be like, okay, like know who you are, know what's being asked of you. And at the end of the day, like my brand or my reputation matters a ton to me. So I won't take it on unless I know I can do a really good job at it.
That's a perfect segue to my next question before we get to rapid fire.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken that leap of faith, made that decision, but it bombed and you failed? How did 100%. You handle that and bounce back?
I'll give you 2 examples. So one, I came out of working in healthcare for about like 8-9 years, and I had a role at Groupon. So Groupon moved back to Chicago, had an advanced role at Groupon, and I was like, yes, I am a tech person. Like I want to get into tech. It was pre their IPO, all of the above. And I joined that company, and in 6 months, I was like, this was the wrong leap of faith. Like I went at it more because I was excited about trying, like being in a company that was such a big deal, not at all really marrying it to like what my life needed at the time. You know, like I was up till like 3:00 in the morning working on coupons. And I was like, this does not fit with the life values that I'm looking to do, you know? And my husband was like in a residency for critical care for ICU medicine. And he was working less hours than me. And I'm like, clearly like things are misaligned here. So to me, it was a real moment where we had to figure out our finances. We had to figure out everything. I need to figure out a new job. I was like, I can't do this. Like I remember very distinctly walking out of a hallway and the vice president being like, I need you to come to work every day thinking about how you can make more money for us. And I remember being like, that is so misaligned with like my values and how I operate. Like, I don't think I could do this job. So that was like a strong miss on my part. I was like, all right, made the wrong move, picked myself up, found another role. The role was not as exciting. The role was not as challenging. It was not as fun. But at the end of the day, like I had to keep zooming out where I was like, but what do I really want? And at that point in my life, I really wanted to start a family. I really wanted to have bandwidth. I didn't want to come home exhausted every day from work. And so like that was the long game of like, what do I really want? And is this getting me closer to what I really want? Big picture. And then another is just, I presented at the latest league meeting for the NBA. It was my first meeting ever, and I was presenting, which was really exciting. And then my president goes, present to me before you present there. And I was like, gulp. Okay. And we sat in his office and he made me run through my speech and he told me it was all wrong. It was gobbledygook and it does not make sense. Because I was like, okay. And so then he gave me feedback on the spot, Jahaan. And then he said, okay, go again. And I could not, like, I just shut down. I was like, every word that came out, I like couldn't complete a sentence because I was like in my head and I was like, crap, like this is all wrong. Like I need to change it. I need some time to think about it.
Yeah.
And so like totally shut down. And in my head, I was like, he's going to be like, why is this person presenting for our company? We should call the league and tell them to cancel her. Like that was all that was going through my mind. And so then I literally looked at him and was like, I need time. Like I just need some time. And he goes, great, make some time for this afternoon and come back. And I was like, okay. So like literally got out of the meeting, canceled every one of my meetings up until the meeting I was with him, got in a room, shut it down, practice, 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 like talk to my boss. And Raven was like, go in the bathroom and puff yourself up like Wonder Woman, get in there and finish it. And I was like, okay, like did that, went back in, did it, got through my 7 minutes, and he's like, you're ready, go ahead. And I was like, great. So like examples of like, like there's plenty of times where I'm just like, I am not hitting the mark. I am not doing what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I'm not coming across with that great reputation, like whatever it is, like in my head of what I've built up.
Yes.
But then like, all right, like try again.
I mean, try again. You didn't even have 24 hours. Like you were just, I mean, I love that you said that you asked for what you needed. You said, I need time. And he said, okay, sure. I'll see you this afternoon.
Yes.
I'd have been like, wait, what do you mean?
I know. But I'm like, even in that, though, I'm so grateful. Like he took an hour out of his day to help me get better at my presentation. Like,
yes.
Amazing, like amazing organization, amazing leadership. So to me, I was like, all right, like very stressful, but also amazing.
I mean, that's a great example for those listening about you're going to have times when you just flop, right? And you're going to have this opportunity to get in your head. It's almost better that he said, okay, I'll see you this afternoon, because you didn't have time to like beat yourself up and get in your head about it and stress about it. I mean, at the time, I'm sure you maybe wanted more time. I think I wanted more time for you. So I
wanted more time for me too. Yeah. Yes, I did. I totally did.
I love how you just said, like, he gave me time and he took time in his day to help me be better at my presentation.
Yep.
You didn't say at the end of it, you weren't thinking, well, he thinks I'm horrible. Like he thinks I shouldn't present. You had those thoughts, but then in the end, you kind of flipped it and you're like, you just helped me with my presentation. Look at that. I mean, what a huge mindset shift from the beginning of that day to the end of that day. Like you had I hope you went home and I don't know if you drank, but had a glass of wine.
I had a glass of wine. I was like, I've lived 1,000 lives today, so I need a glass of wine. So, but it's just, I mean, again, like I think, like people don't need to give you that kind of time and energy if they don't want to, right? And if they do, like how do you make sure to respect it back? But really, like at the end of the day, it was so great because then I could walk away and like now I had like this extra level of puff or confidence of being like, okay, I'm gonna be fine. Like he said I was gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah. There you go. That puff. Getting that puff.
I'm getting the puff.
Yes.
I'm trying.
I'm gonna take that one. I like that
you
one.
should do it. You should do it.
Yeah. There's some times where I'm like, you need to get it together, but I need to get the puff, even if it's temporary for that 30-minute meeting, whatever you need it for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Do my best. I'm ready.
All right. 12 questions. First thing that comes to mind. First question. What is your favorite sports moment?
Repeat with the Chicago Bulls.
What is something people always get wrong about you?
They think I'm boring because I'm an analytics person. They're wrong.
What is one food you wouldn't want to give up?
My mom's Indian cooking. It's so good. It's so good. Just reminds me of home.
Are they still in Chicago?
They're in Maryland
area.
Now.
Oh,
Maryland. Yeah, they've been there for about 15 years. And I gain weight. I come home, I lose the weight. I go back, gain weight. It's a constant struggle, but it's all worth it.
Yeah. It sounds it. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
I peak in the afternoon, which is really sad. Like I'm neither morning nor night, which is really sad.
Oh,
I don't like getting up early. I like to go to bed early. So I peak in the afternoon.
I do not. I have the exact, when you're peaking, I mean, I have crashed. Like I know. 3 o'clock and I'm like, I am done. Like it's really hard for me to function after 3 and I have to drink a ton of caffeine.
Oh, no.
If I have because client meetings in the afternoon. Yes. I'm like, okay, we got this.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm jealous. All right, favorite holiday.
Oh, Christmas. Christmas
dog or cat?
It's magical. We have a lovely dog.
Oh, what kind?
She's a Bernedoodle. Her name is Loki because she's the queen of mischief. She's actually very sedate, but she's also a little mischievous, but she's lovely. She was our pandemic puppy that came after the vaccines came out. So after the pandemic ended, we got our puppy. So we stayed indoors for several more months.
You have to.
Yeah.
Aw, I love it. Okay. Yeah. What product would you seriously stockpile if they were going out of business?
I would stockpile this it sounds stupid, but it's like oil of Olay, just like the lotion. Like I just like my daily morning lotion on my face. It sounds silly, but like it just makes me happy every morning when I put it on.
Yes. No, I understand that. And I think that like you just dated yourself because now they call it Olay. Like
They
don't.
do?
Yes, because my husband, he's mad at me for outing him, but he loves their like, there's this one body wash that he loves.
Okay.
And like I like typed it in, I was like, oil of Olay. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's just
Olay.
Olay. Maybe it's just the body wash, but that's where my experience is.
I will own my age. I've called it oil of Olay for a billion years.
Same. I was like, you can't just change it. Like that's stick with me forever. All right. Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram. Oh, or LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn, big time. I really love LinkedIn. I found my job through LinkedIn, so love it.
Oh, there you go.
Found this job through LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
Who is your biggest inspiration in life?
I would say is my grandmother. My grandmother was in India. She married young back in the day. And then my grandfather ended up couldn't use his legs after a certain point in his life. So they were farmers and he ran a farming business, but he couldn't use his legs. So he would sit in a wheelchair or in a bed all day. But behind the scenes, this woman ran everything. She ran the business. She raised 3 kids. She did everything. And till the day she passed, she was just incredible. If you really think about like back in that day for her abilities. And I often think about like, how would she feel if she like could now see her granddaughters and her great grandchildren like succeeding in a country that in her mind was like everything. It's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I just got the chills. And now like I'm going to ask you a question that has like is just the complete opposite, but
let's do it.
There's no transition. What is your favorite app?
My favorite app does the calendar app count? I feel like that's all I live my life by. I'm in that app every minute of every day. And the Bucks app. The Bucks app is also good, but really the calendar app is where I live my life.
That is fine. It is an app. As a child, what did you want to become when you grew up?
As a child, I thought I was going to be a doctor. I genuinely thought I was going to be a physician. And I chased that dream for a long time. That's another example of failure. I applied to med school twice. I got waitlisted twice. And I'm convinced it's because I could not convince anybody in an interview room that I actually wanted to be a physician. Because then realize I don't like getting up early. I don't like going to bed late. Like it's just the 3:00 hour where I could do really well as a physician. But yeah, I thought that I was going to be a doctor, but I was not. But I ended up in a completely different place that I actually enjoy much more.
Wow. Yeah. The universe just closed that door. It's like, you do not want to be here. This is not where you're supposed to go.
Over and over again. They were like, and no.
No. Like, all right, let's just tell her again. She'll get it eventually. There's another place for you to thrive.
Took me a beat.
You definitely found it.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Finish this sentence. The future of women working in sports is
bright. It's bright. Yes. I can see it happening. So like, I just think things have changed in the year and a half I've been here. We just went through and looked at our VP leadership landscape. So many women. And I went to the NBA meeting. So many women. I'm like, it's bright. It's heading in the right direction for sure.
Yes. Sumathi, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much.
Yes, I loved it. Thank you so much. It was really great meeting you.
Yes, you too. Now, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how can they go about doing that?
I'm on LinkedIn, easy enough, and should have all of my ability to contact me through there. I'm happy to share email address, etc., with you guys and being able to put it in the notes or whatever it is, but happy to have people reach out.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for spending with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So what did you think of this episode? Do you know another woman who works or is aspiring to work in sports? Would you do me a favor and share this with them? It would mean so much if together we could support and inspire other women on their journey. And let's stay connected. I love meeting and talking to new people. Follow me on Instagram at Jahaan Blake and join the free Game of Her Own community by visiting jahaanblake.com. I can't wait to meet you.